Hi everyone, Miss Lorette here again. So we're going to be continuing section 1.3. This is lesson 2, multiplying fractions. You'll need a notebook, something to write with, and possibly a scientific calculator. Okay, I'm going to have to move myself so we can see these problems completely. Take a moment to pause the video if you need to copy these examples. So the nice thing about your calculator is your calculator will actually reduce these answers for you when you multiply them. And the nice thing about multiplying fractions is that we don't need to find the LCD. We can just multiply straight across. So I'm going to go through these and show you how to do them without a calculator, but I encourage you to keep practicing using that ABC button. So when I look at this problem without a calculator, I prefer to reduce before I multiply rather than reduce after, because if I reduce after, I'm reducing larger values. So when I reduce beforehand, I'm actually cross-reducing or cross-canceling. I'm looking at the top numbers and seeing if they reduce with anything on the bottom. I'm checking to see if there's any number that can evenly go into both of those values on the top and bottom. So I'm checking the 5 to see if that can be reduced with either 3 or 4. There's nothing that'll go evenly into 5 and 3, and there's nothing that'll go evenly into 5 and 4, so I can't reduce that. Then I'm checking to see if the 3 can reduce with 3 or 4. I can reduce 3 and 3 by 3. 3 will go evenly into both and make them both 1s when I divide. So now that I've cross-reduced, I can actually multiply my numerators and just get 5 as my product, multiply my denominators and get 4, and there's my final answer. Let's take a look at the next example. We've got two negatives. When I multiply two negatives, I should get a positive. And now let's check to see if anything cross-reduces or cross-cancels. I'm checking the 9 to see if there's anything that'll go into both 9 and 5 evenly. There's nothing that'll reduce. Then I'm checking the 4 and the 5 to see if 4 and 5 can be divided by anything evenly. They can't reduce. So I know that now I can just multiply my tops and get 36 and 25. Again, it's a positive because the signs are the same. And because nothing could cross, reduce, or cancel beforehand, this is simplified. Let's take a look at the third example, 2/3 times negative 1/2. Well, I know I'm going to get a negative because a positive times a negative gives me a negative. Now, before I multiply, I'm going to check to see if anything can cross-reduce or cancel. 2 can't reduce with 3, but it can reduce with 2. I can divide both by 2 and get 1. I can't reduce 1 with anything on the bottom, so I'm good to just multiply across. 1 times 1 gives me 1. 3 times 1 gives me 3. And this is fully simplified. Let's take a look at some examples where we have some integers. When you're multiplying an integer with a fraction, very easy. All you do is you put it over 1 to make it look like a fraction. So this becomes 5 over 1 times 2 over 3. And I can do the problem just like in the last slide. I can check if the 5 reduces with 1 or 3. It doesn't. I can check to see if the 2 reduces with 3 or 1. It doesn't reduce it with anything there, so I can just multiply straight across and my answer should be fully simplified. 5 times 2 gives me 10. 1 times 3 gives me 3. I can leave it like this, or your calculator might actually be giving you a mixed number, and that's totally okay. Either is acceptable. Let's try another one. The 3 will turn into a 3 over 1, and I'm multiplying with a negative 2/3. So when I multiply, positive times negative will give me a negative, and the 3's are across from each other, top and bottom, so I know I can reduce those. I can reduce them both by 3. They'll turn into 1's. 1 times 2 will give me 2. 1 times 1 will give me 1. So I can leave my answer like that, or I can simply write it as negative 2. And again, if your calculator is doing this, it should just give you an answer of negative 2 automatically. Let's try another one. We'll put this number over 1. This becomes negative 2 over 1 times negative 2/3. A negative times a negative will give me a positive, so I'm just going to write my fraction bar, but no negative in front. It's a positive. And I'm looking to see if the 2 reduces with 1 or 3. Doesn't reduce with any of those. Same thing, this is a 2, so it's not going to reduce with 3 or 1. So I can simply multiply straight across. 2 times 2 will give me 4. 1 times 3 gives me 3. Again, your scientific calculator might be giving you a mixed number here. That's totally okay. Okay, now let's do some examples where we've got some mixed numbers. Now, on your calculator, in order to enter a mixed number, you'll just hit the ABC button after entering the whole number and then enter your fraction entering the ABC button. So you're gonna have, for example, when you type in this first fraction for number 7, it'll look like this. 1, that little weird backwards L, 5, the little weird backwards L, and then 6. So that's what it'll look like, just to give you a heads up. But once again, I'm going to show you how to do it without a calculator in case you don't have one. When you do multiplying fractions without the use of a calculator, you want to convert those mixed numbers into impropers first. To do that, you're going to multiply this denominator with the whole number and then add that result to the numerator. 6 times 1 will give me 6. 7, 8, 9, 10, 11 is what I would get when I add the 5. My denominator will stay the same. And now I multiply with 3 halves. Now it becomes like a problem like on the previous slide where I can reduce. 11 won't reduce with 6 or 2. 3 won't reduce with 2, but it can reduce with 6. I can divide 3 and 6 both by 3. The 3 will give me a 1. The 6 will give me a 2. And now I can multiply. 11 times 1 will give me 11. 2 times 2 will give me 4. Your calculator might be giving you a mixed number. Either are acceptable. Let's try the next one. I'm going to multiply 3 with 6 and get 18. 18 plus 5 will give me 19, 20, 21, 22, 23. Hopefully I'm doing that right in my head. It's a little late in the evening here. Let me just double check that just to make sure. 18 plus 5, yes, indeed, it gives me 23. And my denominator stays the same. And I'm going to multiply with a negative 1/2. Again, I'm going to check the 23 to see if it reduces with 6 or 2. No luck there. And then I'm going to check to see if the 1 reduces with 2 or 6. Well, 1's not going to reduce with anything. It's already fully simplified. So I can simply multiply these two answers. Positive times negative will give me a negative. 23 times 1 will give me 23. 6 times 2 will give me 12. And again, I know this is fully reduced because nothing reduced in the beginning. Okay, one more problem with mixed numbers here. I'm going to multiply the 6 and the 3 and get 18, plus the 1 that's going to give me a 19. Denominator stays the same, and it also remains a negative, times a negative 5/3. I'm going to check to see if the 19 can reduce with 6 or 3. It can't reduce with either of those. Now I'm checking to see if 5 can reduce with 3 or 6. Can't reduce with either of those, so I'll just multiply across the tops. A negative times a negative gives me a positive. 19 times 5 gives me 95. 6 times 3 gives me 18. And again, I know this is fully reduced because nothing reduced beforehand, and your calculator again might be giving you a mixed number here. Either are acceptable. Okay, so let's pause the video here, copy these in your notes, give them a try on your own. I'm going to pause my video, and when I unpause and when you unpause, you should see solutions on the board. Okay, so here is what you should be getting as your answers. So for the first one, if you're using a calculator, your calculator should just tell you that it's 1/6. If you're not using a calculator, you should have noticed that the 5's cross-reduce with each other. After you multiply, you should get 1/6. For number 11, again, if you're using a calculator, you'll either get negative 81/8 or a mixed number. If you're not using a calculator, you're going to multiply and get 24, add and get 27, denominator stays a 4. Nothing cross reduces or cross cancels here, so when you multiply, this should be your answer, or again, it should be a mixed number. Oops. For the last example, you should put the -2 over a 1, and then you'll notice that the 2's will end up cross-canceling completely, giving you 1 over 1, or just 1 as a final answer. And that's pretty much it. That is multiplying fractions. I hope that you found this video helpful. Feel free to go back and rewind if you need to, or ask your teacher questions, and good luck with everything. I'll see you guys next time. Bye.